What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's Table That Discussion. I'm your host, Howard Bender, here on Fantasy Alarm TV. With me, of course, my esteemed panel of Fantasy Alarm analysts. I've got John Impemba, James Grande, Mike Alexander, and Edward Rouse. Now, for the first time here on Table That Discussion, I've decided to dress down a little bit, relaxed mode. Why? Fantasy Alarm just released the initial launch of our Fantasy Alarms NFL Living Draft Guide. That came out today, Monday, June 4th. So welcome to it. Get yourself a copy of it right now, fantasyalarm.com/draft now. Well, releasing the initial part of the draft guide always gives me a little bit more of a lenient schedule here. So I've decided to sit in my casual attire, in my vacation mode. I found a little old man cabana wear, decided to put it to good use today. And with that, we're also going to do a very special football-only Table That Discussion. We're still going to talk fantasy topics and reality topics here, but we're going to limit the football just to enjoy ourselves and celebrate the launch of the draft guide here. Gentlemen, are we all set? Are we all ready to go?
Ready to go.
Let's get it.
All right.
Go.
We're start off right now. I'm going to lead it off with who won last time here? I believe, it was Steve Pimentel. Never mind. So I just get to randomly choose who gets to start today. James Grande, I'm going to go to you. Gentlemen, here's the issue, or not really so much of an issue, but NFL owners are now bandying about the possibility of either an 18-game season or an expanded playoff field. Either way, they want to put more money in their pockets. They obviously want more games, more time, more advertising dollars there. The question is will the Players Union go for it? Should the Players Union go for it? I mean, let's face it, kind of a dangerous sport, lots of injuries there. Adding on extra games like that's going to increase the wear and tear on all your players. So, James, talk to me here. 18-game season or an expanded playoff field. Does either appeal to you, one more than the other? And is it something that we should do?
I mean, of course it's about money, Howard. I mean, the richest major sport, in the country, $13 billion in revenue last year. So obviously it's about the revenue. I personally don't think it's a bad idea to go to an 18-game regular season. If you look at the reported, we've been talking about concussions primarily throughout the years and how unsafe football is because concussions. Well, from 2017 to 2018, we were down 67 reported concussions. Obviously, not every concussion is reported, but the NFL has done a very good job and they've been very stern with the concussion protocol the last couple of years. So I think that's a really nice trend, at least to see in the concussion aspect of things. There will be injuries in baseball, football, basketball, like MCLs, ACLs, arm injuries, yada, 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 whether the season is 4 games, 10 games, 18 games. And I think obviously football's biggest problem has been concussions over the last couple of years. And just to see the numbers down from last year, I think that can even go down further if we do things like, if we're going to go to 18 games, maybe we limit preseason, or we cut out, maybe we limit practices, I guess, during the week. So I think there are ways to get it to where we're continuing to see concussions drop, and that will allow us to see more football. And let's face it, it's everyone's favorite day of the week, Sunday, during football season. So I'm okay with the 18-game season. I don't know about the expanded playoffs. I think the playoff format is pretty good as is, but I do like the idea of an 18-game season.
I'm more partial to Thursdays personally. Those Color Rush unis, those are the best. Absolutely. Anytime when you get to see Jets Patriots and they look like a bunch of Mike and Ikes running around on the field, always good. Mike Alexander, is this the answer to the problem here? Concussions are down. We're good to go. Maybe we take those 4 preseason games and we cut out 3 of them and turn them into regular season action here. Is that a possibility, or 2 of them? Is it all just about the concussions here, that as long as those are down, the NFL should be able to rake in extra dollars?
Howard, I don't think it matters because it's what the NFL owners want. And what the NFL owners want, they're going to get. We've seen that time and time again. So, it's going to be an easy fix. They're going to cut 2 preseason games, which nobody wants to play anyway. If they need some extra time to, see guys who are on the bubble, they'll just schedule an extra scrimmage towards the end. And James made a really nice point about the concussions, because not only are they down, they're down and the reporting has gotten more accurate. 10 years ago, nobody reported their concussions because you didn't want to not get to play. That was, you were seen as weak. So the NFL has fixed that. Now concussions are being handled seriously. And there couldn't be a better time to make this switch, in my opinion. We're protecting the quarterback better than ever, which I think is a good thing. We're protecting defenseless receivers from unnecessary hits. The NFL has figured out that running backs are disposable, and they're rotating them more than ever. The workhorse running back has gone away. So, from that standpoint, I think the NFL is really set up to go to 18 games, where 5 years ago, your quarterback wasn't protected and you had a workhorse running back that just couldn't take any more carries. Now you've got people mixing in, you've got quarterbacks that are safe, and that's going to make it an easier transition to 18 games. The players union just needs to get on board and do their best to get what they can, push some demands back. That's all they can do, because the owners are in control. The owners have won the war. I don't like it. You don't like it, but it's the way it is.
Sean and Pemba, how are the players supposed to push back on something like this? Do they say, no, we don't want to play in these games? It's too much. We're going to sit here and talk about the reduction in concussions. Well, reported concussions. We've all seen players stay on the field when they really had no business. But can't we just turn around and say, well, we're going to tack on 2 more games here in the regular season, so that's going to increase the possibility of knee issues and hamstring problems and all sorts of other stuff like that. How is the NFL Player Association supposed to push back on this and get their way?
Well, I think the one thing they're going to really want to do is create more jobs for players in the NFL Players Association. If you're going to expand the schedule, you're going to expand the rosters, and that'll allow more guys to be on the team, be on the field, be able to play in those games, have more players at those disposal if there are injuries. And you can point to all the injury data you want and say it's down over 16-game season, but if you're increasing the number of games, it's increasing the likelihood of injuries to occur. So, I mean, while the total number may be down over 16, there's still going to be more total players injured if you increase the number of games played. For me personally, I always think regular seasons are too long in all sports. We don't need 160 games of baseball. We don't need 80 of hockey and basketball. 16 feels right for a football season. Of course, as a Patriots fan, the regular season is just a practice anyways. I'd rather just skip right into the playoffs. So, having to wait 2 more regular season games to watch New England go to the Super Bowl again, I don't know. It just seems like a waste to me.
Crossing off one of those fire alarms there, my friend. That was not so good. Way to finish there. Oof, I won't put you in the free zone yet, but Edward Rouse, talk to me here. If the players say they don't want to play in the 18-game season, what are we looking at here? Are we looking at a potential impasse? Are we looking at a potential strike? Would the owners have to do that, the locking out of players and stuff like that? Is this potentially looking at a labor disaster coming up?
Well, yeah, no, I think a lot of the majority of the players would want to play as much as they can. They love the game of football. That they're football players. But I think the big reason, or what I don't like about going to 18 game, is the fact about how much emphasis is on each division. 8 of the 12 teams that make the playoffs, all they got to do is win their division. Well, if you add 2 more games, they're not going to be divisional games. So the divisions now are not as important, especially like you said with the Patriots. Aren't they guaranteed to win that division every year? Well, that kind of ruins the whole divisional aspect. And, I love that 16 games. It does feel right. After week 3, you're already getting the stats. 0-3, they have this much percentage of making the playoffs. You add the 2 games, every game just won't feel as important, I think, as a 16 is now. And I just think 16 is kind of great and makes the division. Listen, you want to go to the playoffs, you win your division. That's number 1. I think it kind of takes that away a little bit if they go to 18. And I don't like that.
All right, listen, yeah, it changes around the schedule. It puts a more, probably a different emphasis on interconference play there. For me, it was, it is what it is, and ownership, yeah, they're going to get their almighty dollars here. Couple of alarms given out here in this first round here. James Grande, you get a pair of alarms there. You made some very interesting points there, and you said concussion probably at least 72 different times. So we're all grateful for that. Mike Alexander, you came in all fire, all business, ready to go. Great work there. I'll throw you a pair of alarms. And Pemba, you had 2 alarms going there, but then you closed it out on a horror show pro-Patriots tirade, and nobody appreciates that, including the eyesore of a T-shirt that you got going on there that nobody likes either. Don't shrug at me. Don't do it. I'll take the other one away. Edward Rouse. Nobody in this league, in the NFL, is playing the game of football because they just love the game of football. They're not getting paid. They're not playing. I wish I award you no alarms on that one.
I was trying to get to my point. That's all.
All right. Well, listen, fantasy busts, fantasy sleepers, fantasy whatever you want to call it, value picks. Everybody wants to know who the guys are that they should and shouldn't draft here. What I want to know is let's get away from the old group think that the industry always ends up rolling all over here. I want to know from each of you. All right, who is your potential bust for this coming fantasy football season that goes against routine group think? All right, like you want to say Travis Kelce? Go ahead and say Travis Kelce. You're wrong, but I would just say yes, Travis Kelce would be against the group think over here. Edward, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go first here and potentially redeem yourself. What potential bust is just playing because he loves to play and he would do it for free?
Oh, man. I was just trying to get your question and get it out of the way so I can get to my point about the divisional thing. That's all.
That was a decent point, but again,
I love the game, man.
Yeah, man.
Listen, I've been on this guy as a bust already. He came up last year as a rookie, had a great end of the year. He was a top 10 quarterback the last half of the season. Lamar Jackson. A lot of people think, oh, I'll just get Lamar Jackson later as my number one. And, he did have a phenomenal, second half, a lot of rushing yards, all of a sudden the run game there for Baltimore. But he played one team twice, and that team was the Chargers, and they absolutely dismantled him and figured him out and how to beat him. And I just don't think he's going to go into this year being a reliable number one quarterback on your fantasy team. Backup maybe, but you shouldn't be drafting him as a number one, as a lot of people are doing. So I say, they're going to look at the tape from what the Chargers did to them in the playoffs. And I think the whole run game, run here, even Mark Ingram, the whole package, I'm staying away from Baltimore in just general.
All right, listen, I can accept an entire team being a fantasy bust. It definitely interesting there, but we'll tag you with Lamar Jackson there. Mike Alexander, talk to me, man. Who's your bust this year that everybody else seems to think you're wrong?
Well, you would have thought people in 2017 would have learned that you can't trust Matt Ryan coming off of a big season. That doesn't seem to be the case. He's going QB6, QB7 in a lot of places right now. I've got him projected at about QB 15. It's just not looking pretty in Atlanta to me. The offense has been taking a step back every season since Kyle Shanahan left. They're bringing back Dirk Cutter as their offensive coordinator. He couldn't even call the plays as the head coach in Tampa Bay. Now they're going to give him a job as their offensive coordinator. That's just an old friend getting his job back. So I think that offense takes a step back. Matt Ryan is not going to throw anywhere near as many touchdowns as I think people are expecting. And that whole offense, they got two rookies on the offensive line. The offensive line is taking hits. Devonta Freeman can't stay healthy. So everything around him is pointing down. So that's going to bring him down as well. There's no reason to draft a quarterback as early as people are taking Matt Ryan, period.
Very interesting. I might be a little bit more bullish on the Falcons passing game there. And maybe it's addition by subtraction. You just take away Steve Sarkisian. Whoa! All of a sudden, we've got a potentially functioning offense. So no Matt Ryan for Mike Alexander. John and Pemba, talk to me here. Julian Edelman, you fading Tom Brady this year. Rex Burkhead.
I'm actually fading Odell Beckham Jr. Everybody is all on the OBJ train going to Cleveland, and I'm not really sure why everybody is that excited about Baker Mayfield here. He finished 25th in completion percentage last year. Who finished ahead of him? Eli Manning finished ahead of him last year, and I think everybody thinks he should retire. He ranked 19th in quarterback rating. Derek Carr and Mitchell Trubisky ranked higher than him in quarterback rating. He played 14 games through 14 interceptions. Everybody's riding the high on Cleveland, winning 5 of their last 7 games. Those 5 wins came against teams with losing records. There are 2 losses. They came against the Texans and Ravens, who went to the playoffs. They had the 5th easiest strength of schedule last year. This year, they have the 23rd strength of schedule rank. So for me, everybody's here on OBJ thinking that the Browns are going to be the next 8 team. I'm worried about Baker Mayfield and how he's going to go in year 2.
Browns are always going to brown at some point or another there. Impemba spitting heat there, wiping his tush with the Cleveland Browns. Listen, I get you, man. I definitely get you. I like Baker Mayfield for this year. I like what they've put together here. I definitely think that there's potential, there's growth, there's upside. But listen, I can definitely understand that whole need to go against the grain here when everybody is sitting on the Browns. Everybody just are they in on the Browns here, John? Because they just want this disgusting, decrepit franchise to finally do something? Or do you think they're genuinely high on the players?
I mean, I think they're high on the way they finished. They just see what Baker Mayfield did, the way he has swagger, the way they brought that team together. They added, Kareem Hunt at the end. He's going to come back from his suspension. They had Nick Chubb. They got Odell Beckham, made the big splash in the offseason. So I think there's a lot of chatter around them and the expectation that they're going to be a top team, and they could be. As like I said, I'm just looking at the numbers that Baker Mayfield put up last year. They weren't that good. They were good enough, but against bad competition, they're going to have a much tougher schedule this year. How's he going to react now the team's going to have a book on him? I kind of worry about that. Yeah, there's enough weapons around him, but he still has to get them the football. There's a lot of weapons around. I'll talk about Eli Manning again. There's a lot of weapons around Eli Manning in New York. He's still going to get them the football half the time. So the quarterback position makes the player. If Baker Mayfield takes a step back, he's going to not going to be able to pay off that ADP. OBJ is going around like wide receiver 5 or 6 right now. That's tough.
Man, I almost gave you another alarm there, but again, a needless anti-New York, pro-Boston swipe there. I mean, really? Poor Eli, come on, man. That's a 2-time Super Bowl champion right there. 2-time Super Bowl MVP.
The fact that over the last
unbelievable.
Many people assume that Eli Manning should have retired, right, James?
Yes.
Of course he should retire. I know it. You know it. Everybody else knows it. It's fact there. It's fact. It's still, man. Maybe it's just the shirt. James Grande, talk to me here, man. Your fantasy bust of the season here that goes against the grain.
So you mentioned it at the top, and you said Travis Kelce, and we debated on him last week or 2 weeks ago during our 3-point play. And then you said during Edward, you'll accept an offense. So I'm kind of thinking I'm not really digging the Chiefs offense this year. And now I'm going to pump the brakes. And obviously they are a very good offense. They're number 1 offense across the board in every statistical category last year. But obviously they suffered 2 ginormous losses. Patrick Mahomes has far less weapons than he did a year ago. Damian Williams, as great as he was during the postseason and during the regular season, had his first year rushing over 3.6 yards per carry in a 5-year span. So yes, he's a good pass catcher, sure, but without Tyreek Hill's deep ball presence, I think he could see more people in the box this year, maybe a few less catches. We already had this debate about Travis Kelce too. These 3 of them are all in top 25 ADP across the board. I don't like reaching for tight ends. I think there was great value. I mean, we saw 3, 4, and 5 scoring tight ends last year, all be drafted in the 12th round or later. So I think waiting on a tight end could be the idea. And then how about Sammy Watkins, who everyone is in that? I mean, 2 of the last 3 years he's failed. He's missed 6 or more games he hasn't stayed healthy his whole career. He hasn't had more than 65 receptions in a year. And now we're relying on him to be Tyreek Hill? I mean, do I think they're a very good offense? Yes. Do I think they're going to be close to what they were last year? Not a chance.
Okay, listen, you know what? I said it in the NFL draft guide there. A bust isn't necessarily a guy who's just going to crap the bed the entire time. He's a guy who you take who doesn't live up to his draft round value right there. And listen, I'm with you there, Patrick Mahomes. I'm with you there, Sammy Watkins. I think he's definitely problematic, has not been healthy since his rookie campaign in 2014 when he was in Buffalo. But okay, listen, if you have to pick one, Mahomes, Kelsey, Sammy Watkins. Who you sticking on the bus? Because Edward got saddled with Lamar Jackson. We weren't going to give him Willie Snead as the big bust against the groupthink here. So we're going to give him Lamar Jackson. I want you to pick somebody off of this KC offense.
I'll go Kelsey.
You'll go Kelsey. There you go. That's definitely going against the grain there. Anybody? I'll just kind of go around here. Anybody strongly disagree with somebody's choice here? Impemba, you were shaking your head a little earlier there. Maybe that was just about the miscalculation of the Chiefs having the number one productive offense.
Well, it was more so that how he said he thinks they're overrated, but then he went and talked about how good they were. So I just felt like there was a little bit of a soft take there to start off. And I mean, if anybody's going to do well in that offense, I think it's going to be Kelsey, because Mahomes is just going to force feed on the football, especially as you said, when there's no Sammy Watkins because he's hurt, and nobody else really for him to throw the football to. So I would be surprised if Kelsey ended up being a bust, just because I think he could lead the NFL in targets at the tight end position this year.
Edward, you strongly disagree with anybody around there?
No. As a Chargers fan, though, I really enjoyed the smack talking on the offense of the Chiefs. So I say give James some fire just for that.
Oh, look at that. What a giver you are. All right, I'll give him one of yours. How about that?
Yeah. All right, that works.
All right, we'll just take away from him. We'll give to him. Mike Alexander, anybody out here smoking crack, according to you?
I mean, it's not strong pushback, but Baker Mayfield had to work with Hugh as his head coach, half of a season. That's going to hurt anybody. So, now he's got a much better head coach, a much better offensive coordinator. I think you're going to see better efficiency out of him this season.
All right. Okay. James, I'd ask you if you strongly disagree on anybody, but you'll probably just flip-flop back and forth the rest of the way here. So we'll just put it to we'll table that discussion right now. Open up the doors for a new one. In addition to the owners talking about an 18-game season here or expanded playoff field, the other talk is about the level of punishment for marijuana use. Apparently, they want to take it off the table. Let's face it, guys. The legalization of marijuana is coming. It's just like gambling. Every state wants to legalize it. They just have to figure out a way to line their pockets. However, while it is a mind-expanding relaxation drug, marijuana is a downer here. Do you want your players smoking weed? Do you really? I mean, look at what it's done to Josh Gordon's career here. Mike Alexander, I start with you. Legalize weed in the NFL?
I don't know why the NFL needs to get involved in morality of its players anyway. It should be allowed. The players want it. It's being used for a true medicinal purpose. They don't want to take dangerous narcotics that are addictive, that make them feel groggy and really off balance. So they'd like to manage their pain in a way that they can with a drug like marijuana that, is not quite as harsh. I don't know why the NFL wouldn't want that. Why would you not want your players to be healthier, to be more comfortable? It's just like 1980s think that, marijuana is a bad drug and we've got to, we can't have that. We're the NFL. We've got to polish the shield. So that doesn't work for me. And I think it's ridiculous that there's any punishment for marijuana at all.
Interesting. James, apparently Mike Alexander says vape pens on the sideline, totally cool. You want your quarterback ripping a huge bong hit right before he jumps into the huddle to call a play. Wait, what were we just doing? Running or passing? I can't really remember. James, are we sure that this is the path we want to go down?
I mean, I was kind of on board with it, and then I was just listening to what Mike had to say, and I'm not saying he was you were saying it before. What productivity out of smoking weed would anyone have? And I don't think everyone's going to use it for medicinal purposes. I mean, you're coming off a bye week. What medicinal purposes are you going to have? You're just getting high at that point. So I like my players to be productive. I like my team, my fantasy players to be productive. And I think if they're smoking weed every day for medicinal purposes, then I don't think we're going to get the best out of everyone. And I think there's going to be a lot more sloppy football than we've ever seen. I don't think it's needed in the game, but I mean, it is what it is.
All right, I'm going to go to, because, James is on the Nancy Reagan just say no to drugs kind of thing, and red was always her fine color here. Edward Rouse, let me ask you here. Are you going to draft yourself an all-star weed team here? Get Ricky Williams in your backfield. Josh Gordon's going to be your wide receiver one. Plexico Burris, who shoots himself in the leg because he's too stoned to know what he's doing right now. Really, are you looking at drafting your fantasy football team with a bunch of stoners?
Well, let me ask you this. Okay. Would you rather have your player go out there a little high or completely hungover from the night before, being at the club drinking till 4 a.m? What's the difference there? He's looking at how productive is he going to be, and drinking's legal. You can drink, and you see it all the time. Did any of you watch that video of Ezekiel Elliott last week of him drunkenly walking around the concert and pushing the security guard down over the thing? I mean, come on. Alcohol's just, if not a bigger issue, and makes you do stupider things than weed does off the field, and yet that's legal just because it's legal. I feel like if weed was just legal, it'd be the same situation. I think that's the only thing is really the fact that alcohol is legal. That's why they're more like, oh, whatever. But how many of these players are hungover? You see it all the time in Instagram videos of them at the clubs late at night, the Saturday before the game or Friday. And how productive are they being compared? I say it's fine. Let them have it. And again, I also want to agree. I believe marijuana is a much better, safer way to cure things than the opiates and the stuff we have there that's become a huger and bigger epidemic in America.
I like it. Making really nice point there. But let me ask you real quick. Are you high right now, Edward?
I am not.
Okay, because stupider is not a word here. So I immediately deduct an alarm from you on that one there. Sorry, dude. But yeah, no, good points all around there. John and Pemba here. Let me ask you. We've seen what it does. To me, I say let them smoke away and do what it is. It hopefully keeps them a little bit more out of trouble. Maybe they're just sitting back in their hotels, and instead of going out and drinking at the club, they're sitting there playing video games at home. They actually just kind of keep themselves away from some of the problem aspects there. Can marijuana save sports here? Save the NFL from all its stupidity?
I mean, the thing here is really not whether or not it should be legal or not. The NFL is a business in itself. They have rules, and for the most part, the majority of the players are abiding by these rules. It's certain players like you said, you mentioned Josh Gordon. Justin Blackmon decided not to play football because he would rather stay at home and smoke weed. So they're really just catering, I feel like, to maybe more of a loud minority in terms of marijuana usage in the NFL and making it legal, because they're the same players over and over again. They're always the one in trouble for testing positive for these things. I completely am okay with it. Do what you want on your own time. But, if you show up to work, or if I showed up to work and I was, high or drunk or whatever, I would get in trouble for it too. It's you got to abide by the rules that are set by your workplace. You are part of a union that works under an organization that agreed to these rules. So until things change, then that's the way it goes. Yeah, I think that the laws are definitely made by a bunch of old, out-of-touch men, the same people who are voting to legalize or make marijuana not legal in states as it is now. But as it is now, it's just the way it is. You don't test positive. Smoke during the off season if you have to. They have windows of testing in the NFL. You talk about it all the time. Where you can not have to worry about a drug test. Then things happen. Worry about your drug test. Go clean. So I don't know. To me, I don't think it should be as big of a deal as it is. I feel like there are just certain players that have more of a problem with it than others.
Definitely understandable there. All right, good points made by everybody. We're going to have to just wait and see what happens there. I didn't award some any alarms out after the bus call here. So in these last 2 rounds, let me just say that I'm going to throw out another 3 alarms to Mike. It puts Mike at the 5 mark there. It actually puts him slightly over, but you can only get as high as 5. Mike, super on fire right there. John and Pemba, I give you 3 for the last 2 sets of points you made there. You, my friend, are sitting at 4. Grande, I don't even know. I'll just give you 4 just in general overall. Whatever your total was before, we'll make it 4 right now. Edward, you're picking up the rear today, man. The vocabulary is just, oof. Oof, it must be all that CBD oil or something, you know?
I gifted one of mine to James too. So what am I, negative now?
Oh, that's right. You are. All right. Yes, you're frozen. That's it. Edward's frozen for a few moments here while I sit here and I get ready to move on to our next topic here. All right, I'll unfreeze Edward here. Mike Alexander, the flames are growing. You are on fire here, doing a great job. I turn to you here. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. They go their different ways. Bell is now with the Jets. I don't even know what to say about it. Antonio Brown in Oakland. I don't even know what to say about that one either. Both interesting situations. Lev Bell's current ADP right now is about 10.4. Antonio Brown's 19.5. Are you drafting either or both or neither of these guys at their current ADP mark? Your thoughts and expectations?
I'm pretty happy I get to lead off on this one because it's clearly Antonio Brown at his ADP. Le'Veon Bell is a gigantic question mark. His head coach doesn't like him. He's not going to get the same amount of touches and targets that made him such fantasy gold in Pittsburgh. If you've seen Adam Gase, use running backs lately, he doesn't really focus on one guy. Antonio Brown, though, he's in Oakland. He has no competition for targets. Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow with a W, who they drafted. They've got some tight ends that no one's ever heard of. He's going to get 25 to 28% of the targets in that offense. He's going to catch 90-some passes. He's going to put up about 1,200 yards, and he should catch about double-digit touchdowns. That's a win in the second round for me every day of the week.
All right, Antonio Brown at his current ADP. John and Pemba, what are you looking at here? Either, neither, both?
So I don't love either of them, but I would rather probably take Le'Veon Bell at his ADP. I know Mike mentioned Adam Gase and the running backs that he worked with, but I mean, what running backs was he working with in Miami? Kenyon Drake? I mean, this is Le'Veon Bell we're talking about here. Coming off a year layoff, the offense, if you're smart, well, utilize the skill sets of the side in the offseason. So to me, I'd rather, if I had to pick between the two, take Le'Veon Bell. If you're taking Antonio Brown there, I mean, again, we're relying on Derek Carr, who's been a terrible quarterback for fantasy purposes now for a handful of seasons. Other wide receivers in that ADP range, you have Adam Thielen, T.Y. Hilton, Keenan Allen, all safer plays, in my opinion, I think, than Antonio Brown. Who knows what kind of mindset Antonio Brown's even in after the offseason that he just had. That he may be a guy that doesn't want to play football, right? Who knows? So I'm kind of out on Antonio Brown here. I'd rather, if I had to pick, go Le'Veon Bell, but in that aspect of that range of the ADP, I'd rather just take one of the other wide receivers that are going in the first round, whether it be DeAndre Hopkins or Michael Thomas or Julio Jones, and just draft neither if I have the option.
All right, Edward Rouse, either, neither, or both. AB, Lev B, who do you like?
Neither. Listen, I'm a believer of the system. A system. Pittsburgh has a system. At both ADP, give me Connor, give me Smith-Schuster over both of them. That system works. Give me Ben Roethlisberger over Derek Carr any day. I'll take Connor over Bell at about that same range, and I'll take Smith-Schuster over Brown. The system. It works in Pittsburgh.
All right, so I got one vote for AB from Mike, a neither from both Edward and John and Pemba. James Grande, showing anybody some love there? Somebody wants to give Lev Bell a big hug, fantasy hug here. What's up? What do you want?
I'm siding with Mike here. I'd rather the ADP on Antonio Brown. So do we know who the most efficient deep passer in the NFL was last year, Howard?
It was not Derek Carr.
It was close to Derek Carr. He was near the top. And I'm not saying Antonio Brown is the best deep threat in football, but he's been a damn good one in recent years. John, you mentioned, yes, there hasn't been a lot of running backs that Adam Gase has had over the years, but dating back to 2013, running backs received 26 touches in 2013, and now we're down to 20 last year. So that's 6 fewer touches than we were getting earlier. He's only had 2 running backs receive more than 50 passes during his tenure as a team's offensive guru. And I mean, Derek Carr did, as much as, it's become a passing league, he did have his first 4,000 yard season. So again, it's going to be target shares. There's going to be plenty of yards to go around. I lean Antonio Brown. I'm just not sold on the Lev Bell experiment in New York.
Yeah, I don't really know how much of an experiment it's going to be. I'm actually surprised if he even reports this year. It doesn't even just hold out for more money. It is going to be a nightmare of a situation there. Listen, I can't say that I agree or disagree with either. You know, everybody's making a good point. It's a value pick for number of targets for Antonio Brown. A lot of question marks surrounding Lev Bell. I think I would probably lean closer to the neither, but I could definitely see that argument. Listen, we could be looking at Antonio Brown, going to jail week 10 for choking the life out of Derek Carr because he's just can't get him the ball on a regular basis, or at least Antonio Brown doesn't think that he can get him the ball. And that's the problem, is that it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It's not Big Ben. It's not the same guy who's been throwing to you for the last 6 years of your career who helped make you into the receiver that you are. All right. Well, listen, great points made by everybody out there. I'm looking at the some fires there for John and Pemba. James Grande and Edward each pick it up, but guess what? You all pale in comparison to Mike Alexander, who crushes it today. Look at that smug face of his right now. Look at that. That's almost like Impema being like, oh, because I said stuff about Boston. I never get to win this show.
There's a conspiracy brewing around here.
Really? You take that up with your superiors. You find out if there really might be a conspiracy going on. In any event, want to thank everybody. I want to thank my esteemed panel for joining us here. Always a great time with you guys. Thanks to our producer, Matt Wolf. This has been Table That Discussion. We appreciate you guys tuning in to us, and we'll catch you next time.